The struggle is real, my friends. Planning a Disney World vacation can be a major headache if you end up making one of these mistakes. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. We got a major list of major red flags here today. Some are new, some are classic, but all of them you're going to want to avoid to prevent wasting time, wasting money, and wasting opportunities while on your Disney World vacation. So let's start by actually getting to the parks, which can prove to be more challenging for some folks, depending on which Disney World hotel you choose. Don't make the mistake of not factoring in the time that your bus loop is going to take. Not every Disney World hotel has a straightforward complimentary bus service. Disney's Coronado Springs and Disney's Caribbean Beach have an internal bus loop. When you're staying at a Disney World resort with a sprawling layout, these larger resort hotels will have multiple bus stop locations. That's great when it comes to not having to worry about walking too far from any particular hotel room to reach a bus stop, but these buses will pick up guests at every single one of these stops, and that means if a bus is already getting pretty packed by the time it reaches you, there's a good chance it'll only be able to take a couple more guests before moving along, leaving you to have to wait for the next bus and hope it'll have fewer people aboard. You will need to budget in extra time for your itinerary to factor in these internal loops, especially if you're trying to make it to rope drop to make it on time to a dining reservation, because internal bus loops will take longer to get from place to place. This is also a major issue over there at Fort Wilderness. If the bus stop lines are too long for your liking and you're running low on time and patience, you may also want to consider investing in a rideshare like an Uber or a Lyft to get a private and quicker ride to the parks. Now, saving time is key to a successful Disney World vacation, so we're going to learn about another major time saver here that could help you book the reservation of your dreams. Don't make the mistake of calling to make your dining reservations. If you're wanting to have a fighting chance at actually scoring a table at one of the hottest Disney World restaurants like Cinderella's Royal Table or Space 220, then you need to avoid making reservations via telephone call. Disney has actually gone as far as to say, please don't call. Use the website or use the My Disney Experience app. Not only is it slower to call and make a dining reservation rather than booking one on the app or online, because you'll more than likely be put on hold for a long time, but the time you can start making these reservations is also a little bit different. According to the Disney World website, online reservations start at 6 a.m. Eastern, though they usually do start opening up about 15 minutes before that at 5:45 a.m. We've definitely gotten reservations even at 5:30. But phone reservations will not open up until 7 a.m. Eastern. So it's best to try for those online reservations first, and if you can't get them, you can try calling Disney's reservation number as a last resort. Another mistake guests keep making on their Disney World vacation: blending in. When you are in Disney World with so many crowds, it can be hard to keep track of your family and your little ones, especially if you've got a family reunion going on and there's a bunch of people in your party. That's why family shirts are so helpful. Now, over at dfbstore.com, we got tons of different and super unique Disney shirt designs waiting for you to snatch up and wear on your next Disney vacation. We've got holiday designs, nice bright red and green ones. We've got designs based on your favorite rides. And of course, we've got designs shouting out our favorite Disney snacks. So before you go buying one of those typical Disney shirt designs that everybody else in the parks is going to have, check out our selection, see if you can find some new threads to fall in love with and get for the whole fam. Okay, rise and shine. Lots of good things could pass you by if you neglect Disney's morning hours, so don't go wasting daylight, especially with this next very, very important point. Please don't make the mistake of spending your morning in the park waiting for coffee. Now, before some of you start saying, AJ, I need my morning caffeine, I get that. I'm not saying to ditch the cup altogether. I'm just saying that those early morning hours in the park are prime real estate for getting on those popular rides before the wait times get to be really, really long in the afternoon. So if you spend that time instead waiting in those long Starbucks lines for your grande mocha latte or whatever your drink of choice may be, then you might wind up waiting 30 plus minutes for a coffee when you could have been waiting 30 minutes to ride a headliner ride. Now, there are ways to get that extra pep in your step and bean juice flowing through your veins before you ever reach the park gates. For starters, all the Disney World hotels and most of the Good Neighbor hotels have coffee pots and or Keurig machines, so you can make yourself a totally free cup of coffee while you're getting ready for the day. But if that's not for you, I get it. Sometimes coffee machines in hotels are gross. No problem. You also might be able to get coffee at your hotel. If you purchased a refillable mug at the start of your vacation, you can fill it up with coffee at your hotel's quick service location. You can also get up just a little bit earlier and head to a counter service location in your hotel and grab a coffee there. Now, it's also not a bad idea to grab a Joffrey's coffee outside of the park. There are Joffrey's kiosks inside the parks, but the ones just outside the gates usually don't get as much traffic or attention. So you should be able to grab a latte, coffee, cappuccino, maybe even a peach iced tea before jumping into the front gate line. Animal Kingdom has a Joffrey's stand right outside the front gate. Epcot has a Joffrey's stand right outside the front gate. Magic Kingdom has one at the Transportation and Ticket Center. Oh, and by the way, if you're staying at a Skyliner resort, look for a Joffrey's stand at those Skyliner hubs too. It just breaks my heart to see those super long lines snaking around the corner at Starbucks in the parks when time is money in Disney World, and I just feel like people are wasting so much time and money in those lines. There's gotta be better ways to get coffee. But if you're bound and determined to get your Starbucks fix, I've got one way to help you cut down your wait for at least one park location. Creature Comforts is the Animal Kingdom quick service location that'll sell you all your staple Starbucks goodies. But waiting to get your coffee and your pastry is a time suck here too. What most guests don't know is that there are actually two Creature Comfort lines. The first line, pointing toward Discovery Island, tends to be much longer because it's the first one you'll see as you're walking towards it from the park entrance. But the second line points toward the Africa section of the park and is more than likely going to be a shorter option for you, meaning faster coffee service so you can get on with your day. Okay, enough coffee. Let's talk about the rides. Be careful thinking there's a right way to buy lightning lanes. How much do you actually have to pay for lightning lanes to get access to those line bypassing benefits? Honestly, it depends on what you're wanting. To gain access to most lightning lanes around the parks, you're going to need to pay for Disney Genie Plus, which is a surge price between $15 and $22 per day per person. Maybe even more, we'll see. But to gain access to the park's most popular rides like Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, and Epcot, and Rise of the Resistance in Disney's Hollywood Studios, you'll need to get an a la carte lightning lane or an individual lightning lane. You can call it whatever you want, and that'll also be a surge price between $10 and $22 per person per ride. But here's the thing, you don't have to pay for all the parks or all the lightning lane services. You can prioritize what you're gonna really need. For Magic Kingdom, you may want to pay for Genie Plus, but skip out on paying for the a la carte ride, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, because you know you're going to get in line for that at the start of your day when lines are pretty short. For Hollywood Studios, you may want to pay for Genie Plus and Rise of the Resistance Lightning Lane, since the lines for all those rides can be a headache to wait in midday. For Epcot, you may want to settle on just an a la carte Lightning Lane for Cosmic Rewind, and use those early day and late evening hours to hit up some of the other more popular rides without the Genie Plus perk. And for Animal Kingdom, you may want to skip Lightning Lanes entirely, since you'll more than likely be able to navigate all these rides in one go without having to pay extra. It's all up to how you and your group want to pace things out, and it's kind of up to how crowded it is when you're there. But the big takeaway here is that you don't need to buy every type of lightning lane for every single day of your trip. You can pick and choose and get what you want. As I said here, usually we recommend buying the Genie Plus service for Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios because those have a lot of rides and a lot of them have lightning lanes and a lot of them have long lines. But in Epcot and Animal Kingdom, you can probably get away without Genie Plus most days and just grab that individual lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind. All right, don't want to have to backtrack to your hotel room just because you brought the wrong Disney accessory along with you? Then you're going to want to leave this next item back at your resort. Don't make the mistake of trying to bring balloons to the wrong park. Who knew balloons could be considered such a serious crime in Disney? They seem so innocent. But when you buy a balloon at Disney World, you're more than welcome to bring them back into the parks as a fun floaty accessory, except if you're going to Animal Kingdom. Balloons are a no-go in a park full of animals. If one were to pop and leave bits of rubbery pieces behind and an animal were to get a hold of one of those pieces, then that could potentially make our wildlife friends really sick. And Disney doesn't want that. Not at all. And neither do we. So keep the balloons back at the hotel room that day and plan to bring them along to the other 3 parks instead. When it comes to dining at Disney World, I've got 2 words for you. Don't settle. That's right, don't make the mistake of eating in the parks when there are better options. Sure, you can settle for the same theme park food you pick up every time you go to Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, but if you have the flexibility to leave the parks and eat somewhere truly satisfying, then do it. Here are some underrated Disney Springs and Disney Resort favorites of ours that deserve your time and your taste buds. Boma, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, they turn the idea of the typical breakfast and dinner buffet spread on its head with a variety of African-inspired options like turkey babouti quiche, African spiced beef strip loin, and Tunisian couscous and shrimp salad. Over at Disney Springs, you can order allergy-friendly and vegan baked goods at Erin McKenna's Bakery. We're big fans of the donuts and savory biscuits here, and the cupcakes, cookies, and anything sweet. Honestly, they do a really, really great job, and this is one of the only places you can be guaranteed an incredible dessert that's vegan and allergy-free. Raglan Road Irish Pub, also over at Disney Springs, and features classic Irish dishes with a contemporary twist. They've got items like the Bang Bangs chicken, buttermilk fried chicken topped with a spicy mayo, and the chicken pie do try made with chicken, wild mushrooms, and leeks and a white wine cream sauce. Also, don't miss the bread pudding. The Boathouse is another Disney Springs must-do and has an extensive seafood menu, but if you go here, I highly suggest getting a seat out on the dock for a gorgeous view of the lake and amphicar takeoffs, if you can't sit in the boat table, of course. Now, if you're looking for a restaurant with a hearty personality and even heartier food, Whispering Canyon Cafe at Disney's Wilderness Lodge is something we don't talk about nearly enough here on the channel. You can get all-you-can-eat skillets with items like maple chipotle barbecued slow smoked pork ribs, oak smoked beef brisket, barbecued pulled pork, and citrus herb chicken, along with heapings of comfort food sides. And speaking of comfort foods, the Fountain at Walt Disney World's Dolphin Hotel has a cute and cozy diner with very affordable burgers and hot dogs and hand-spun milkshakes that'll satisfy both the picky eaters and the more adventurous palates in your group. That's one of the best budget-friendly restaurants in Disney World, and nobody knows about it. There are so many different restaurants to choose from around the resorts and Disney Springs, and we even have YouTube videos where we rank every single one of them. But if you want a more in-depth look at all the dining options available in Disney World, you can always download our 2022 DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining PDF, and that's going to give you a bunch of reviews and recommendations and tips to help make your dining experience awesome. All right, I'm not ready to stop talking about food just yet, but then again, I am never ready to stop talking about food. Never. Our next big mistake you don't want to make in Disney World, but everybody does, is missing out on the Mickey beignets. They're doughy, they're sugary, sometimes they're even savory and boozy. Beignets are truly a highlight snack of Disney World, but if you don't know where to get them, then you could end up missing out on them entirely. So where do you need to go to find beignets? I'll give you a hint, it's not in the parks. Instead, you're going to need to head over to Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. Grab yourself a seat at Scat Cat's Club Lounge. Scat Cat's Club Lounge is going to be the place for all things beignet. Here you can get Mickey-shaped traditional beignets or savory beignets served with red pepper jelly, pimento cheese, and green goddess dressing. You can get oyster beignet po' boys, which have a good flavor but get kind of messy, so you've now been warned. And you can get boozy Baton Rouge beignets with pipette fillings of your choice, Kahlua, rum chata, or Bailey's Iris Cream. And if you're at Scat Cat's on the weekend, Fridays included, after 7:30, you'll get to hear some live jazz as you munch away on those beignets, while also enjoying a cocktail or two. Because Scat Cat's Club Lounge is only open in the evenings, you might have other nighttime plans that'll make it tough to make it out for those sweet beignets, but take comfort in knowing that the resort has a second beignet supplier, Scat Cat's Club Cafe. So this is open all day long and has more options to satisfy your sweet tooth. You got the traditional beignets with your choice of dipping sauce, salted caramel, strawberry, or chicory chocolate ganache. You can add extra dipping sauces for $1 more, but you've also got seasonal beignets like the pumpkin spice and gingerbread, and the Mickey-shaped beignet sundae served with your choice of ice cream and sauce and topped off with whipped cream. So congratulations, your Disney day just got sweeter. And now for one of the biggest mistakes you could possibly make on your upcoming trip. Please don't make the mistake of not checking for discounts, especially if you are a Disney Plus subscriber. So if you've got a Disney Plus account, Disney wants to reward you for being part of that subscription. So they'll often feature hotel discounts on their special offers, deals, and discounts page on the Disney World website. So be sure to look for perks and special offers for Disney Plus subscribers. Those are relatively new, by the way. We have not seen those before this year. So that's kind of exciting that there's another way to get a hotel discount in Disney World. Other discounts you want to check for: those seasonal, festival, and holiday merch discounts at the end of the season. Just look for signage around the stores and see what's on the chopping block, what's gotta go, because they are going to discount a lot of that seasonal merchandise, that festival merchandise, when those things are coming to a close. Also, make sure you're checking shopdisney.com to see if things are less expensive there than they are in the parks. We've seen this a couple of times now. Spirit jerseys can be less expensive on shopdisney.com, and mini ears can be less expensive on shopdisney.com. So there's also a whole sale tab over there that you can browse through. And there are often things on Shop Disney that are discounted, that are straight from the parks. So it's a good stop to make before you spend a bunch of money in the parks. Now, be careful. Some Disney World mistakes might be made simply because it slipped your mind, like this next one. Don't make the mistake of not anticipating sudden cold snaps or weather changes. Remember all the times we told you to brace for that intense Orlando sun and those sweltering sunshiny days? Yep, they're not all like that. As it turns out, on occasion, Orlando can be chilly. Even this October, we've been experiencing some cold snaps with temperatures dropping into the low 50s. Now, I know the Northerners out there are rolling their eyes right now. Same, but low 50s in Orlando can get pretty frigid with all that extra moisture in the air. And as we start getting away from the summer months and slipping even further into winter territory, you want to keep an eye on the extended forecast to get an idea of how temperatures are going to look during your visit. That way, you're not caught off guard by the sudden briskness that'll actually make you consider trading in your usual Dole Whip for a cup of hot chocolate. Also, make sure you're packing those layers. Even if the mornings and evenings can get pretty cold, that Orlando sun can still make you nice and toasty in the afternoon. So jackets, ear warmers, gloves, scarves, leggings, any other articles of clothing that can easily be slipped into your park bag when you no longer need them can be super vital to navigating the parks when the temperatures start dropping. All right, in this next point, we are going to ask you to please not give up. Just because you purchased Disney Genie doesn't mean you're guaranteed a lightning lane for every single ride. You'll only be able to book one ride at a time, so on busier park days, some of the more popular rides could already be snatched up before you get a chance to pick a time slot. But once a lightning lane is gone, it doesn't mean it'll be gone forever. Oftentimes, we'll see more availability for rides pop up throughout the day after other groups cancel or Disney just decides to sprinkle in a few more time slots, meaning you've got a second or maybe third or fourth chance. So keep checking the My Disney Experience app throughout the day and refreshing that Genie Plus page. You don't have to do so obsessively and distract yourself from your entire park day, but whenever you're standing in a line or waiting for someone to get out of the bathroom, you can take a moment and check for sudden availability. Also, don't forget about that 120-minute rule. Just because you book a return time that's 3 hours away doesn't mean you can't book more lightning lanes in the meantime. Every 120 minutes, even if you haven't used your previous lightning lane yet, you'll be able to book another and stack them up. So if you want a better chance at getting lightning lanes on the more popular rides, don't forget about this nifty little trick. And Disney Genie will even tell you when the 120 minutes has passed at the top of your tip board, so if you're not quite sure about when your countdown should begin, you can always keep track there. All right, so knowledge is power, especially when it comes to knowing your Disney menus and knowing them well. So don't make the mistake of not knowing that menus can switch up and switch up all the time. Breakfast menus for restaurants are going to be vastly different from what the table services provide past the morning hours, but don't forget lunch and dinner menus aren't always going to be the same either. For example, if you dine at Space 220 in Epcot, the lunch prefix is going to be cheaper than the dinner prefix. For lunch, you'll pay $55 per adult for one liftoff appetizer and one star course entree, but for dinner, you're going to pay $79 per adult for an appetizer, entree, and supernova sweet dessert. Menu options also vary between lunch and dinner. Though some items stay the same, like the Blue Moon cauliflower and the Terra Bolognese, others will only be available for one meal or the other, like how the Florida Red Snapper is only available during dinner and the Space Getty and Shrimp is only available for lunch. Same thing can be said about dining at Steakhouse 71 over at the Contemporary Resort. Though the restaurant is called a steakhouse, the only time you'll have a full steakhouse cut menu to order from will be for dinner. Otherwise, you can order a secret menu 6-ounce filet mignon for lunch and maybe a prime rib, but you don't have a lot of steak options otherwise. If there are different lunch and dinner experiences at a restaurant, then you can bet your bottom dollar DFB is going to be on top of it. We review every meal for restaurants on the DFB site, so you don't have to be caught off guard by any menu discrepancies. We also put out a blog post every single week with every single menu change in Walt Disney World. And that can come straight to your inbox if you join our newsletter for free. The link is in the description to sign up. It's also a good idea to go directly to the Disney World website and take a look at all the different menu options for the restaurants, instead of just going with recommendations from people you know in like Carpool or like Jake from accounting, right? Look over those menus yourself. Read through our reviews, watch our reviews on YouTube, look at the food and see if it's something that you're interested in having. something. Okay, so planning ahead is what DFB does best, and we suggest you get started with your planning as soon as possible, including planning the days you didn't think you even needed an itinerary for. Don't make the mistake of not making plans for day one. If your flight miraculously gets into Orlando early, or you drive through the famous Walt Disney World arches early because you've made great time, then congrats, you are finally here. But now that you're in Disney, will you be able to start settling into your room? Well, more than likely the answer is going to be no. If you're trying to get into your room before 3 p.m., which is the typical check-in time for most Disney resorts, it's not going to be ready. So now what? If you just got off your plane, you can still head over to your hotel first to store your luggage. That way you won't have to lug it around for hours before your room's ready. Just head to the Bell Services desk and let them know you need your stuff kept safe and sound for a while, and they'll know what to do. Okay, what's next? Well, it's up to you. Even though you haven't officially gotten your room yet, that doesn't mean you haven't checked into your resort virtually or in person. You can still use the amenities around the hotel now, and that pool might be looking awfully fine. You could also do a pop-up activity at your hotel or take the time to walk around the perimeter and take it all in. You could even book a relaxing lunch reservation or hop on a bus and shop the day away at Disney Springs. There's a lot to do right from the get-go on your arrival, so don't waste it twiddling your thumbs in the lobby and waiting for your room to be ready. By the way, here's an extra tip. If you are waiting for your room to be ready and you're waiting for that text message from Disney that they said they're going to send you when you did the online check-in, be sure you're checking your My Disney Experience app as well, because I've gotten that text message way later than my room was actually ready before. So if you head into your My Disney Experience account and you click on the resort hotel section, there should be a little spot where you can see your room number. Keep looking and keep updating. All right, planning ahead is good. Spending money you don't need to spend, not so good. So don't make the mistake of thinking you have to have a Magic Band. Not every Disney premium perk has to be added to your Disney World vacation if you don't want to pay extra for it. You don't need Genie Plus for every day. You don't need a park hopper added to your single day park ticket. And you definitely don't need a Magic Band. All of these things are wants, not needs. Now, Magic Bands are cool. They keep a hold of a lot of your vacation information to make things super convenient. You need to pay for something? Tap the Magic Band. You need to save a PhotoPass picture to your account? Magic Band. You need to unlock your resort room, scan into the parks, or show a restaurant hostess your group's reservation? All of it can be done with a simple scan of that chunky high-tech bracelet on your wrist. And now that Disney's upgraded Magic Bands to Magic Band Plus, you've got more options that make your time in the parks more immersive with light-up features and interactive games and other updated features. But here's the thing. If you're not super interested in paying $30 to $50 per person for a little more immersiveness in your park day, or you just don't want to pay extra for even the basic Magic Band option for your entire group, you do not have to get it. All of those things I listed earlier, like unlocking your room, pulling up your reservations, saving your PhotoPass pictures, etc., that can all be done through your My Disney Experience app too on your phone, your mobile Magic, which is absolutely free. Also, if you do decide to invest in a new Magic Band Plus, don't forget that those need to be charged to have all the fun immersive stuff happen. That's a real easy one to have slip your mind since the older versions don't need to be charged. So when you head back to your hotel room after your long park day and you're getting ready to juice up your tech to be ready for another full day tomorrow, make sure your Magic Band Plus is part of that lineup. But here's a secret to the secret. If you don't charge your Magic Band, it'll still work just the same to get you into the parks and pay for stuff in the parks, etc. The only thing it won't do is light up and interact with rides. Now, your Disney trip doesn't just start when you cross over on Disney property. It starts way before that. Let's talk about a few mistakes not to make in the airport. Once you're at the Orlando International Airport, you're not on Disney property yet, but that doesn't mean you need to neglect planning for how you're going to navigate that airport. Otherwise, you could wind up confused and frustrated before you even step foot into the most magical place on Earth. So here are a few solid tidbits of MCO advice that you need to be aware of ahead of time. We haven't really talked about this before on the channel, so this is kind of a little treasure trove or like gold mine of information if you haven't been to MCO. So rideshares and buses are not in the same area. If you're looking for the pickup area for Ubers and Lyfts, you're going to find that on the same level as the baggage claim area for both Terminal A and B, so level 2. But if you're looking for the Mears Connect or Sunshine Flyer shuttles, you need to head to Terminal B level 1 ground transportation level. Next, don't ignore the signage. MCO is huge, so even if you study the layout of this place before you go, which you should do, you're still going to want to pay attention to the numerous overhead signs. These signs are going to help direct you to where you need to go when you're feeling super turned around, which is liable to happen. So look up. Next thing to know, Wi-Fi's not the greatest here. Learned this one the hard way. If you're trying to book a rideshare at the airport, you might come across some rather bad connections. In certain areas around the airport, Wi-Fi and cell service can be spotty, making it a pain when you're trying to book a ride out of there. You may have an easier time connecting to the Wi-Fi at one of the businesses inside of MCO, like one of the Starbucks, for instance. But Bria has a tip that if you're having trouble booking a rideshare, you can call someone at home who can probably book one for you. So if you've got a trusty friend or family member back home who's willing to lend a hand, that's a good lifeline to have. Now, on your departure day, when you're leaving Disney World, get to the airport early. You may have no choice in this matter if you're taking a Mears Connect or Sunshine Flyer bus, because they will take you to MCO early the day you fly back. But if you're taking a rideshare or returning a rental car, then plan to get to the airport like 2 hours early. Not kidding. Even if the airport doesn't happen to be busy that day, it usually is. And if you're stuck in a forever long bag check line, you want to make sure you got that extra wiggle room of time so you don't miss your flight. This is also a good reason to consider getting TSA pre-check before your trip. This is basically the lightning lane of airports. It allows those who have it to skip the long wait and hop into a separate line at security, which generally moves much faster than the normal lines. You can apply for TSA PreCheck before your trip on the TSA website. Enrollment costs $85, which will cover you for the next 5 years and is good at all airports that use TSA PreCheck. To apply, you'll need a valid ID and proof of citizenship, like a passport or birth certificate, and you'll also be required to take a photo, so make sure you brush your hair that day. There's also a new way to get enrolled with TSA PreCheck, and that's directly through MCO. I'll give you a link to our DFB post that goes into detail about how all that works, but for now, just know that it's a nice alternative to have, especially if you've got some extra time to kill before your morning flight. And another tip for MCO, eat before you go through security, if possible. Once you go through security, your food options could be pretty limited. I'm not saying you won't have any options, just not a lot of options. So consider eating before you go through security or eating before you get to the airport in general. You may also want to have a few protein bars and snacky food items packed away just in case you don't have enough time for either alternative. Now, this one really depends on which terminal you're in, because the brand new Terminal C has a lot of great food options. Terminal A is okay, and Terminal B is pretty awful. And since we're already switched over to flight mode, let's talk about another major flight mistake you could be making without realizing it. Don't make the mistake of booking a flight that'll cut your vacation short. Your Disney World vacay is going to whiz on past way faster than you want it to, so no need to make it any shorter than it already is, right? If you plan a flight to arrive in Orlando at night instead of in the morning, then you've missed out on a full day you could have been exploring your hotel or window shopping around Disney Springs, and you still have to pay for the night in the hotel. And if you plan a return flight to pick you up super early in the morning instead of later on in the evening, then you're missing out on another full day you could have spent playing around property. Again, paying for the hotel. That's 2 full Disney days down the drain. Of course, sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes flights are just more manageable and maybe even more affordable around those times that inevitably eat up some of your precious vacation time. But this is why it's so important to check your flight options before settling on the first one you think might be reasonable. Not only could you find a price point that you like better after a little more research, but you might find a time frame that gives you more time in Disney and doesn't try to cut it short. All right, ready for another vital tip that'll help you maximize your park day? Because if you don't do this next one, you will find yourself lost again. Don't go to Disney World without familiarizing yourself with the park layouts. Now wait a sec, was I supposed to make a left turn to get to Kilimanjaro Safaris or a right? And where on earth is Rafiki's Planet Watch even at? Well, you hear about the Disney rides and restaurants and shows several times over before you take off on vacation, but actually finding these places when you arrive is going to be a whole other game. Disney World is massive. It's made of 4 parks, usually 2 water parks, a shopping district, mini golf, full-size golf courses, and over a couple dozen resorts. So yeah, if you get lost, even after your 3rd or 4th visit, it's completely understandable. Make sure to study up on the Disney World Resort layout ahead of your visit and the parks themselves. There are real-time maps that show current wait times for each ride on the My Disney Experience app. If you download the app for free and start studying it while you're still back home, you can get a good feel for how you're going to want to attack each park to maximize your time there, while also prioritizing the things you really want to do. Back to the money-saving tips next. This one could potentially save you hundreds. No joke. Don't make the mistake of not bringing your own food. Not too thrilled about spending almost $6 on a Mickey-shaped Rice Krispie treat or paying $7 for a kid's mac and cheese that you know your kid's not going to eat? You're absolutely allowed to bring your own food with you into the parks. I've seen several of my friends and family members do this when they want to save a bunch of extra money while still being able to explore the parks in the rest of their entirety. They pack things that are easy to tote along in a park bag like peanut butter sandwiches, protein bars, trail mix, and expensive items that Disney will greenlight as A-OK to bring into their parks. The only things that aren't going to be on the A-OK list are things that are in glass containers, alcohol, and things that need to be kept frozen to keep them from going bad. You're also not going to be able to microwave anything, so don't bring in a thing of like ramen noodles to Hollywood Studios and expect one of the kitchens to whip it up for you, because they won't. Also, be careful of stuff that melts. Even those M&Ms in that trail mix can get real messy. All right, now heed this warning. Do not take this next tip for granted. Don't make the mistake of not taking Park Pass reservations seriously. Park Pass reservations still feel like a new concept, but they've been around since the parks reopened after the historic 2020 shutdowns. Park Pass reservations are required to enter any of the Disney parks, and if you don't make a Park Pass reservation, you could be out of luck, even if you did purchase a park ticket already. Now, I know I talk a lot about remembering to make Park Pass reservations, but let me just show you why you need to take these so seriously, especially around the busier times of year. In the middle of October this year, both Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios were booked up solid for 6 days straight, meaning no one could get a last-minute Park Pass reservation for these for almost a week. Mid-October is also when Park Passes started filling up for November. The second and fourth weekend of November have already started to fill up for, again, Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. And if you're wanting to go to Disney World to celebrate the Christmas season, you need to act fast. Magic Kingdom is already completely sold out on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. Fortunately, Park Pass reservations are free and fairly easy to make, and you can always check on Park Pass availability before you purchase your tickets to see what days will still be available for you. But if there are certain days you really need to prioritize for the parks, then you should be booking those reservations months in advance before everyone else decides to book them first. Now, what other mistakes can you make when it comes to purchasing your park tickets? Well, don't make the mistake of forgetting that you can add Park Hopper after you get to Disney World. If you're still on the fence about whether you want to spend full days in each of the parks or have the ability to jump between parks on certain days of your visit, you don't have to decide now. You might not be able to cancel park tickets, but you can add on those Park Hopper perks at any given time. If you decide to add them the day of your visit, just head over to one of the ticket booths at the front of the current park you're visiting and get the upgrade. Or you can skip the ticket lines and upgrade your tickets through your My Disney Experience account. From the app, go to the Tickets and Passes tab, then tap on the tickets you want to change. There should be an option right there in the open saying Change Ticket. It'll lead you through the rest of the process from there. Easy as that. So making a mistake in Disney World sounds scary and intimidating, and believe me, we make them all the time. But if you know what to look for and how to plan ahead to avoid the obstacles, you can still come out on top with a vacation for the books. And you know, that's our job, making all the mistakes so that you don't have to. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.